Good morning, class. Today we will talk about 10.7, multiplying and dividing complex numbers in polar form. Okay, so if you look here, you can see we have this formula here. And if you don't want to use this formula, you wouldn't have to, but it makes it much easier for us. Okay, so if we had these two numbers, these two complex numbers in polar form, z1 and z2, we can simply multiply whatever the radius is of both, or the r, right? And then also add the thetas together, and then take this new number, this new polar coordinate number, and convert it into rectangular form. So if we look at this first example, if you prefer, you could do it, and I've shown without that formula what we do. We'd have to convert each of these. Okay, so over here on the left is z1. We'd convert it into rectangular coordinates right here. Okay, then we'd convert z2 into rectangular coordinates. Then we multiply them together. We have to use FOIL with our imaginary numbers, our complex numbers. The i's will cancel out in the middle. The I squared, hopefully becomes -1. We combine it, we get -8. We rewrite it into a complex number, -8 plus 0i. So as you can see, this is quite a bit of work. I don't think we want to do that every time. If you have more questions about this, I'd be happy to explain it in more detail. Just let me know. So instead, we're going to use the shortcut here where we combine them. We'll see that we'll get the same answer here, -8 plus 0i, just with some less work, in my opinion. So the first thing we want to do is we are going to set it up so see the r's, they multiply. So they multiply at the front. So we have a 2 and we have a 4. So we take 2, oops, I need my pen on. So 2 times 4, that will go at the front. And then we have the cosine of, now in parentheses here, so let me make that a bracket. Cosine of, it's going to be 3 pi over 4. I got that from right here. We're going to add that to the pi over 4. Plus I sine, and this will also be 3 pi over 4 plus pi over 4. Okay, now we can simplify. So 2 times 4 we know is 8. Cosine of this one's pretty easy, hopefully. It's just going to be pi, because 3 pi over 4 plus pi over 4 gives us 4 pi over 4. Plus I sine, same thing. It's always going to be the same for both of those because we're adding the same two thetas together. Okay. Now we need to convert this. Okay, so for x equals 8 times the cosine of pi. Y will equal 8 times the sine of pi. Now on your unit circle, hopefully you remember, but if not, take a look. We know that pi is over to the left. Again, at that point, the x value is -1. So we'll get x equals -8. The y value is 0, so we'll get y equals 0. As you can see, when we write this then in complex form, we'll have -8 plus 0i, which is the same amount, or the same answer we got here. This time, in my opinion, we had a whole page of work, where here we just have a couple lines. So I think this is much easier. Okay. Now, sometimes they won't add as nicely. 3 pi over 4 plus pi over 4, they have the same denominator. That's pretty easy. So this next one, we'll do one more example like this, then we'll look at dividing. So once again, you start with your r's, you multiply them. So 5 times 3 square root of 2, that's out front. Then it's the cosine of 7 pi over 18 plus the 49 pi over 6, or over 36. And we'll do that also again then with sine. All right. So 5 times 3 square root of 2 becomes 15 square root of 2. Now the cosine, we might need to do this off to the side. If we think about it, 7 pi over 18, if 49 pi over 36. We need a common denominator. If we double the top times 2 over 2, that's the same as multiplying by 1 since it's 2 over 2. This becomes 14 pi over 36, which is what we want. We'll keep this other one as is, 49 pi over 36. Now when we combine these, 49 and 14, that gives us 63 pi over 36. Here's where we have to be smart. Make sure we reduce what goes in both 63 and 36. So a couple options. 3 does, also 9. I'd say use the biggest number you can think of. If you couldn't think of 9, start with 3, and then you'll have to reduce again. 9 goes into that top 7 times, so 7 pi over 9 goes in the bottom 4. So 7 pi over 4, and then plus I sine 7 pi over 4. Okay, so now we're almost done. We just got to convert it now. So x will equal 15 square root of 2 times the cosine of 7 pi over 4. Meanwhile, y will equal the same thing, but with sine. So 15 square root of 2 cosine of 7 pi over 4 is square root of 2 over 2. If we multiply across, we'll get 15 times 2 divided by 2, because square root of 2 times square root of 2 gives us that 2. 2's on the bottom and the top cancel out, left with x equals 15. The y will be the same situation, except it will be a negative square root of 2 over 2. So we get negative 15 times 2 over 2. Still cancel. Y equals negative 15. So to write this up, we just have 15 minus 15i. And that is our final answer. All right. Only difference on the back is now we are going to be dividing, and hopefully notice some patterns here. When we add, or when we're multiplying, we multiply these radii. So instead of multiplying them, since we are now dividing, we will divide them. Okay. Instead of adding, we will subtract. So if we look at number 3 here, same approach, except now we're dividing. So 18, ooh, that's messy. Let me get that out. So 18 divided by 3, then it's the cosine of 13 pi over 12 minus 5 pi over 6. Same thing with sine. Five pi over 6, we need to subtract that. First, we need to just keep the 13 pi as is. Let's double the bottom to 10 pi over 12. We'll subtract that. 13 minus 10 leaves us with 3 pi over 12. Now we just need to reduce that, and we'll get pi over 4. 18 divided by 3, hopefully we know is 6. All right. So we're almost done now. We just need to convert. So x equals 6 times cosine of pi over 4. Meanwhile, y equals 6 times sine of pi over 4. So in our case, that'll be 6 over 1 times square root of 2 over 2. We'll get 6 square root of 2 over 2. X will equal 3 square root of 2. And sine will be the same exact thing. So to write your final answer, 3 square root of 2 plus 3 square root of 2i. So these are a little confusing, a little lengthy, but let's give it a try. We got one more, and then we will only have 4 problems to do on the delta math. Okay. So once again, we divide 30 divided by 15, or not by 15, by 5 from right here and here. Okay, now 7 pi over 6 minus pi. I think you guys might be able to do that one in your head. So 30 divided by 5 is 6. And then it's cosine of pi over 6 plus I sine pi over 6. Okay, all we have to do now is convert. So x will equal 6 cosine pi over 6. Y will equal 6 sine pi over 6. All right, so 6 over 1 times square root of 3 over 2. We get 6 square root of 3 over 2, which reduces to 3 square root of 3. Same thing here, except 6 over 1 times 1/2. You'll get 6 over 2, which we know is going to be 3. So then our final answer, 3 square root of 3 plus 3i, and we are done. Okay. So if you have questions, please let me know. I understand this is a little more confusing. I can definitely show you where we get that formula from, but rather than doing all this work, I think we want to use the formula. So hope you guys have a great day. If you have any questions, let me know. Complete the delta math,